one of the most misquoted verses in the Bible is, money is the root of all evil. And that's not the truth. It says the love of money is the root of all kinds of evil.
A person's wealth is determined by their assets, investments, and things that they own. I say true wealth is about how you live it. Your girl is back. Welcome to season 2 of Wealth Within Reach. Hi, friends. Welcome back to another episode of Wealth Within Reach. And I have another behind the scenes amazing conversation for you today. Okay. We're just on a quick little break, but we're going to have live episodes back to you very soon. But in the meantime, for all y'all who didn't come to the Owning and Living experience in 2024, I'm going to be bringing to you some really important, some of my favorite conversations from the conference, okay? So if you are watching this from YouTube, please subscribe so that you don't miss one single episode. And if you are listening from Apple or Spotify, be sure to leave us a 5-star review, okay? Five-star review, so that we can continue to grow this podcast and increase the exposure. The Owning and Living experience is coming back in 2025. Yes, we are coming back in the fall so that you don't miss out when those early bird tickets launch, because they will come with a really sweet discount. I want to make sure you go to the show notes here, click the link so that you can join the wait list, so that you are notified when those early bird tickets are dropped, because this is going to be a really sweet discount. I mean, really sweet. So you don't want to miss that. So without further ado, I have an amazing episode for you today. Go ahead, check it out.
I want to thank Erica Brown for inviting me here. Isn't she a brilliant woman, putting this conference together so we can learn how to build wealth and make a difference and impact generations to come. Well, I'm so excited about being with you today, and I'm going to be covering kind of a lot of things. I'll talk to you a little bit about my life. I'll talk to you, obviously, about investments and so forth. Just to tell you a little bit about myself, I know you heard the bio, but I'm a native Atlantan. I'm an ATLian, and so I grew up in a household that struggled financially. The first 12 years of my life, we lived in the projects, and it was normal to have the lights cut off. It was normal to get eviction notices. We didn't talk about financial strategy in our household. We talked about financial survival. And so I remember as a child making up my mind that I was not going to be broke and poor, because I had done that, got the t-shirt, and didn't like it. So fortunately, I was good in sports. So by the time I was a junior in high school, I had scholarship offers from literally some of the major colleges in the country: Ohio State, Michigan. There you go, guy. All right, a Buckeye out there. And I chose the University of Tennessee, played football there, started seeing some of the guys who were a little bit ahead of me, and they were getting drafted. And I'm looking at them on television, and I know I'm just as good, if not better than them. So I pretty much knew if I could stay healthy, I'll be in the NFL, and I would not be broke any longer. Well, my senior year came, and sure enough, I got drafted by the NFL, New York Giants. Signed it. Yeah, there we got some Giants, man. New York. There you go. And I signed my first contract. I remember my signing bonus, and this was back in the 80s, so people weren't even making millions of dollars. In fact, I don't even believe there was an NFL player making 7 figures. But anyway, if you could make $50,000, $60,000, $70,000, $80,000, which was a lot of money in the early 80s, you were almost considered rich. Well, little did I know, because of my lack of financial training, because I didn't learn about money in the home, because I didn't learn about money in school, and because I didn't learn about money in our faith community, our church, what did I do? That's exactly right. I blew it. The money came and went. But that was, as they say, the beginning of a great life for me, because I went on a journey to try to find out man, how do people get rich? How do people stay wealthy and rich? And then how can I become wealthy but still maintain my faith? Because I'd seen a lot of people make a lot of money, but they lost their souls. So I'm just here to tell you, I love conferences like this. But don't get it twisted. There are a lot of people who have a lot of money, a lot of real estate, a lot of stocks and bonds, and their lives are totally messed up. So I believe there is a way that you and I can build wealth without losing our soul. That you and I can build wealth and have a strong family, to have peace, to make a difference in the world, and do something good that will last for generations. And so I believe that's why you're here today, and I thank God that that is exactly what has been happening to me. So I learned some very big lessons. I want to start off telling you a story about two guys who were notorious criminals. They just wreaked havoc in this small town. These two guys, they were robbers, they were murderers, and they sold drugs. Everybody knew that they were criminals, but they never got caught. One time there was a police shootout, and one of the notorious brothers who was a criminal, he got killed. So the other brother went to the local priest. He said, "Priest, my brother got killed, and I want you to do his funeral, but I need you to do something for me, Mr. Priest. I will pay you $1 million, Mr. Priest, if you tell the audience at my brother's funeral that my brother was a saint." He said, "I'll give you $1 million. Of course, the priest said, "I can't do that, because you know your brother wasn't a saint, and I would be lying to people, but boy, I sure could use $1 million. So the priest went home, and he wrestled, and he thought about what is he going to do, and next thing you know, it's time for the funeral. And there is the guy laying in the casket, and the priest was up doing the eulogy. And he looked down at the guy, and he told the audience, "You see this guy right here? He was a thief. He was a robber. He was a criminal. He was a murderer. But compared to his brother, he was a saint." So he got the money, all right? So y'all, you gotta be smart when it comes to money, when it comes to building wealth. So the title of my talk is Developing the Wealth Within You. Now, I'm a pastor, but I spent 25 years as an investment advisor after my very short pro football career ended. In fact, NFL for me stood for not for long, because it came and went. But again, because I went through my money, I said, I want to learn about this thing called wealth. I don't want to be like most of the people I grew up with. And so I began to incorporate and to integrate my love for finances and my love for the Bible into one passion. And so my talk, again, is called Developing the Wealth Within You. Now, if I was at a church, I'd say turn your Bibles to the Old Testament book of Deuteronomy. But I do want you to look at this verse, because it's a powerful verse. It gets misunderstood. And a lot of people, when it comes to their faith and their finances, they don't know how the two work together. In fact, a lot of us who were brought up in the faith community look at finances and building wealth as something that is evil. In fact, one of the most misquoted verses in the Bible is, "Money is the root of all evil." And that's not the truth. It says the love of money is the root of all kinds of evil. So I spent 25 years in the investment business, and I have worked with multi-millionaires and even billionaires. So I've had an opportunity to sit at the kitchen table with one of my clients who is the family that owns Chick-fil-A. I was one of their advisors. So I've gotten a chance to not only manage investments, but to become friends and to sit in on conversations about how these people thought about wealth and about family and about their faith. And they weren't bashful about making money because they felt like they had something to offer the world. So, I do want to share a scripture with you, whether you are a person of faith or not. I believe this will resonate with you. It's in Deuteronomy 8:18, and it is Moses talking to the Israelites, and they were headed to the promised land. In fact, you all, they had kind of reached their promised land. They were starting to live the good life. If this was today, it would be a group of people who moved into a gated community, who finally was able to buy their Tesla and their Mercedes or their BMW, and they were living the good life. They were owning real estate. They were owning stocks and bonds. And then this guy named Moses had a warning for them because they were prospering. They were making money. They were living the good life. And so that's the context of this one verse I'm going to share with you. Deuteronomy 8:18. Moses says, "But remember the Lord your God, for it is he who gives you the ability to produce wealth." Y'all, that's a powerful statement. So first he says, don't forget God. In all of your wealth building, in all of your good living, in all of your effort to reach your goals, there is a great temptation for people who are building wealth, and that temptation is they forget God. They throw their principles out the window. In fact, y'all, that one year I spent with the New York Giants, it was interesting because a lot of the guys on the team, you know, they didn't grow up in Atlanta like I did. I mean, I grew up around some sophisticated people. Maynard Jackson lived a couple of miles from me, and he was the mayor of Atlanta. John Lewis lived a half a mile from me. Hank Aaron lived a couple of miles from me. There was another basketball player named Walt Frazier who played for the New York Knicks. Andy Young didn't live far from me. And I would see these people on a regular basis. In fact, Maynard Jackson knew me very well, had known me ever since I was a teenager. But a lot of guys on the team, they didn't grow up in cities like Atlanta. So by the time they got money and they got fame and fortune, the true them came out. It was the first time they had women coming after them. It was the first time they got a lot of attention. It was the first time that they could do whatever they wanted to do. And that is one of the dangers of wealth that people don't talk about, because one of the things that wealth does is wealth gives you choices. And one thing about choices is when you can choose something and make decisions and buy whatever you want to buy, the real you comes out. So a lot of these guys, they were wilding out because they had never had money. They had never had the kind of attention. So Moses is saying, remember the Lord, remember God, don't forget your values. But then he makes a profound statement. He says, because it is God who gives you the ability to produce wealth. Y'all, that's incredible. That means that all of us have the ability to produce wealth. Now, it didn't say God is going to give you the wealth. It says he will give you the ability. Another word for ability is potential. You have the potential to build wealth and to do something great. So, I want to talk to you for the next few minutes about developing the wealth within you. Now, all of us have the potential, all of us have the ability, but now that ability is going to be at different levels. Some of you will make hundreds of thousands of dollars from your business ventures. Some of you will make millions. Some of you will make tens of millions. Who knows? Some of you may even make hundreds of millions or even become a billionaire. The issue is not the amount of money. The issue is developing and reaching your God-given potential to produce wealth. So when you stand before God one day, you can say, I gave it all I had. I got everything in me out of me. By the way, one of the things about being an ex-athlete is I get a chance now to go to reunions of my college football team and even my high school reunion. And I'm amazed at some of the guys who come up to me and they say, wow, if I had just been more focused, and they're 50 or 60 years old, if I had just been more focused back then, my life would have been different. Well, I don't have that regret because I was very focused in high school and in college. So as I got older, I knew that I gave that game the best I could give it, and I got every bit of talent out of my body. Well, it is the same when it comes to money and building wealth. You don't want to die with all of this wealth wrapped up inside of you. You want to reach your potential. You want to be the best that you can be, not only for yourself, but even for generations to come. So, developing the wealth within you. I make this statement that I want you to look at. Wealth is not just what you have, wealth is who you are. Now that's a powerful statement because a lot of us view wealthy people as the stuff that they have, but if you took all of Oprah Winfrey's money away, all of Jeff Bezos' money away, all of Bill Gates' money away, all of Robert Smith's money away, who is the wealthiest African American in the United States. An amazing thing would happen in about 3 or 3.5 years. Many of them will be back to millionaire status because wealth is not what they have on them, wealth is what they have in them, inside of them. But now how about this? If they had given their money away to people, then a lot of those people who got their money would end up broke in 3.5 years because they don't have wealth on the inside of them. So your wealth starts with the way you think. Wealth starts with your mindset. Wealth starts with your perspective. Wealth starts with your habits, your discipline, your wisdom. It has to start on the inside of you first before it manifests itself on the outside. So when I got out of football, one of the things I wanted to learn is how to build wealth, but not from the outside in, but from the inside out. Because if you learn how to build it from the inside out, then it can last. So before we get started, I want to take a few moments to think about what's going on in our country today, financially speaking. I just want to kind of give you a panoramic view. I'm going to show you some statistics, and then we're going to kind of jump into some things, some how-tos, and some steps that I believe can help you develop wealth, okay? The first thing, let's look at Wall Street. I like to say how you're doing financially depends on what street that you're living on. Wall Street, look at these statistics right here. I call Wall Street the current U.S. economy because it's kind of a picture of the U.S. economy. Well, the stock market has risen about 15% or so over the past year, helped by a strong performance in tech stocks. Now, that's my area. I know you all are here for real estate, and real estate is awesome. And one of the things as I was growing up, I wanted to own real estate, but I learned how to buy stocks and mutual funds, and man, it just totally transformed my life and the way I see the economy. In fact, most billionaires, there are usually three ways that they build enormous wealth. Through their business, okay, their business has value, or through real estate, or through stocks. And some of those businesses, the value is the stock. So, those are the three things: owning your own business, investing in real estate, and investing in the stock market. But here are a few other things. Home prices and mortgage rates are the highest in decades, pricing out many first-time home buyers. And then, thirdly, inflation remains higher than previous years, primarily driven by food and housing cost. Now, I know a lot of you in here are like under 40 and you're maybe in your 20s or 30s, and you're probably thinking, man, I've never seen interest rates this high. This is so bad. But y'all, when I bought my first house back in the early 90s, if you had good credit, you might get a 9% mortgage rate. That's how high rates were. So when people look at where rates are now, you got to look at things historically. They are higher than what they have been in 15 or 20 years, but if you look at it historically, rates aren't that high. They are just higher than they have been in recent history. So that's Wall Street. What about Main Street? Main Street is where the average American lives. Look at this. Nearly 60% of Americans are living from paycheck to paycheck. I need you all to let that one sink in. 60% of Americans. Doesn't matter if they make $100,000, $200,000, $50,000. Most people, the more they make, the more they spend. And by the way, you can build a great real estate portfolio and you can do all the right things from an investment standpoint, but if you don't learn how to discipline yourself when the money starts coming in, you will be a part of that statistic. Because I have seen a whole lot of people who make a whole lot of money who live from month to month. How about this one? Over 70% of Americans report feeling anxious about their personal finances, with top concerns being inflation, debt, healthcare costs. And then lastly, under Main Street, about 25% of Americans have no retirement savings at all. Nearly half of them are not even confident that they will be able to retire. Well, that's Wall Street and Main Street. But I'm looking at the audience here, and most of you are African American, so what about Black Street? Okay? Let's talk about that. The median wealth of Black households, I need y'all to listen to this. First of all, what is wealth? Wealth is your assets minus your liabilities. Wealth is not just the stuff you have, because you can have a lot of stuff, but if you got a lot of debt, wealth is your net worth. The median wealth or net worth of Black households, you all, is only $24,000 compared to $188,000 for white households. By the way, this gap has widened over the last decade. That means the racial wealth gap has not narrowed, but it has widened. What does that mean? As a whole, Black people are getting poorer compared to other ethnic groups. They're leaving us behind. We are at the bottom of just about every category. That's why conferences like this, and that's why people like Erica Brown are so important. Because if we had been having conferences like this 20 years ago, 30 years ago, 40 years ago, that wealth gap wouldn't be what it is, because we would be more educated. Look at this next one. Blacks have the lowest household income, the highest rate of poverty, the highest percentage of debt, and the highest unemployment of any ethnic group. Look at this one. The black home ownership rate is around 44%, compared to 74% for white households. Now, why is that important? Because the foundation of wealth building is residential real estate, where people live, their house going up in value, and then maybe that house being inherited by the next generation. Look at this one. 48% of blacks have bad credit, compared to 27% of whites and 34% of Hispanics. That's almost half of black people have bad credit. So if you're sitting by a black person today, to your left or to your right, somebody's credit is tore up from the floor up. But that's all right. You're at the right place to get it fixed, all right? Don't look at the person to your left like, it ain't me. Oh. Somebody said, Lord, help me. But when you have bad credit, you all, I mean, this is a real estate conference. Most real estate is bought on credit, meaning you use debt, you leverage it. So if you have bad credit, then you can't get loans to leverage some of your investments. So this statistic, you all, we wonder why the wealth gap is getting larger. A lot of it has to do with how we handle our personal finances. A few more things before we jump into some of the practical steps. And this one is strong. The average black family passes on 0 net financial assets to future generations. That means when the average black person passes away, on average, the family that they leave behind gets nothing. I won't do this, but if I ask some of you all, did you get something significant when your parents passed away, or your grandparents, or a favorite aunt or uncle? There will probably be very few hands that will go up. Significant, I'm going to say $100,000 or more in an asset. However, because I've done this before, if this audience was white, if this audience was Jewish, and I ask that question, how many of you all have ever received an inheritance from an aunt or uncle, mom, dad, grandpa, grandmom, that's over $100,000? Probably 3/4 of them, if not 80% of them, would raise their hand and say yes, because they believe in generational wealth. So you all, what about your street? What street do you live on? Well, you got to know this, and that is financial success is 80% behavior and 20% knowledge. You can come to a conference, you can learn things, but you got to put it to work. Because what builds wealth is behavior, not just knowledge. Do you need to know knowledge? Yes. But what will make the difference is behavior. All right. I want to give you what you came to this session for. I want to give you 4 ways to develop the wealth within you. There are many ways, but I want to highlight 4. You're going to hear me talk about how you got to see wealth, how you got to seize wealth, how you got to spend wealth the right way, and how you got to save and invest wealth. Those 4 things. How you see it, how you seize it, how you spend it, and how you save it. If you can do those 4 things right, you can reach your financial potential. Because again, that's what this is all about. because I believe God has given us the power and the ability to produce wealth. Number one, what must we do? We must see wealth abundantly. Somebody say abundantly. Now, a lot of people see wealth, but they don't see it abundantly. What do I mean by seeing wealth abundantly? Wealth is all around us. People are always making money. In a bad economy, in a good economy, but a lot of people see wealth scarcely, not abundantly. In other words, they don't see the opportunities out there. They're always looking at why they can't do something instead of why they can. And so it's a mindset. You have to see wealth abundantly. You have to expand your mind. Proverbs 29:18. I love this verse. It says, where there is no vision, the people perish. So if you don't have a vision for your life, if you don't think big, if you don't think you can own real estate and build a great stock portfolio and own a business, guess what? You won't. Whatever a man thinketh, that's what he is. So how you think. Now, the opposite, you all, of seeing wealth abundantly is what I call the poverty mentality. A lot of us, and I would say certainly myself, I probably grew up with the poverty mentality and didn't even know it. I remember when I started making money, I had a Mercedes-Benz, and I would go to the gas place, and I would not even fill up. I would put $5 or $10 in the tank. Who does that with a new Mercedes-Benz? Because I was used to putting $5 or $10. I had money, but I would pay my bills at the last minute because I still had a poverty mentality. So just because you have sight doesn't mean you have vision. Stevie Wonder doesn't have sight, but he has vision. Ray Charles doesn't have sight, but he has vision. Vision is incredible. In fact, I got a couple of things I want to show you about vision. Vision is the ability to see what others can't. Vision is the faith to believe what others will not. And vision is the courage to do what others say can't be done. So I just need those to sink in with you. The ability to see what others can't. You all, everybody is not going to see and get behind your vision. Everybody is not going to believe that you could become a millionaire or a multimillionaire or a real estate mogul. In fact, you got to be careful who you talk to about your dreams. You can't share your 8x10 dream with 3x5 minds, because they will bring your dream down, all right? That's for somebody out there. So you got to make sure you hang around other people who have 8x10 dreams or even bigger. And then it's the faith to believe what others will not, and the courage, I love this one, to do what others say can't be done. When I got into the investment business in the 1980s, there was like 0.5% of African Americans in the securities industry, in the stock market. I went to New York for my training, worked in the World Trade Center for a little while, and there weren't people who looked like me. And a lot of black people at that time were not heavily invested in the stock market. In fact, a lot of us were scared of it. So a lot of people said, how in the world are you going to make a career doing something that has never been done very well by people of color? Well, I and many others proved them wrong. So my question to you all is, do you see money abundantly or do you see money scarcely? You have to make sure that your financial thermostat is set high. Wherever you set your thermostat at home, that thermostat is going to work to either cool off your house or to either heat your home. And it's doing it because of one thing: you set the thermostat. I wonder, where is your financial and your wealth building thermostat set? Because if it's set low, then that's what you're going to have. But you have to make sure you set it high. And one of the ways you do that is you hang around people who will stretch you. So you must see wealth abundantly. Number two, you must seize wealth aggressively. Seize it. Capture it, apprehend it, go after it aggressively. Because money doesn't grow on trees and is not going to fall in your lap. You got to get your hustle on. Whatever you're supposed to be doing, you got to do it 100%. You have to be relentless about it. Now, there are 4 primary and legal ways that people acquire money. Because there are a lot of ways to get money now. Some people inherit it. Some people marry it. That wasn't the case for my wife when we first got married. Some people win it, lotteries, but most people have to work for it. That's how we seize wealth. So the wealth builder's most powerful tool in their arsenal is their income. Your income. What you do for a living. How you do it. Are you good at it? Does it match up with your skill set? Some people don't maximize their wealth building potential, you all, because they are planted in the wrong soil. If you take a cactus that grows very well in Arizona, but you put it in Ohio, it's not going to flourish. Now, that doesn't mean anything is wrong with Ohio, and it certainly doesn't mean anything is wrong with the cactus. It's just that those environments, Ohio and a cactus, are not conducive for each other. So one of the ways, and one of the things you all have to do is to match up your skill set with how God made you and developed you. So there are 6 ways to build wealth, you all, and to seize it. I'm just going to go through these pretty quick. You can be an employee. There's nothing wrong with working for somebody. I know people who have gotten very rich, and they earn money working for someone else. If you manage your money right, you can still do well. Then some people are what I call intrapreneurs. They innovate and grow within an existing company. Okay? Maybe they're on commission, maybe they have a bonus structure set up, but they can do stuff within a company. And then thirdly, some people are self-employed. They run their own small business or gig. One of the beautiful things, and I hate to say it's beautiful, but that was created out of this pandemic was the entrepreneurial mindset. People deciding, you know what? I don't have to go back to corporate America. I don't have to work a 9 to 5. So a lot of people are self-employed. But then it gets even bigger. You can be a business owner. That means you scale a larger business that can operate independently of you. By the way, if the business needs you there every day, then you're not a business owner, you're self-employed. To be a real business owner, it has to operate without you. Or you can be, the next one is what I call a multiple streamer. That means you can do a combination of these. Maybe you do have a 9 to 5, but you have a side gig that's bringing you in a lot of money, so you're self-employed and you're an employee. But then the ultimate is to become an investor. That means you've made money and you're making your money work for you by investing it wisely in real estate and stocks and bonds and in other businesses. But all of these can help you to build wealth. So you must seize wealth aggressively. Hey, another favorite scripture of mine, y'all. By the way, I want to highly encourage you, no matter where you are in your faith walk, if you read through Ecclesiastes and you read through Proverbs, it is some of the best and most practical business wisdom and financial wisdom you could ever read. Ecclesiastes 11:2, it says this: invest in 7 ventures, yes, in 8. You do not know what disaster may come upon the land. In other words, diversify. You don't have to have just one income source. My wife and I, we have had up to 7 income sources before. Up to 7. You know, I'm just a natural hustler. Yes, I'm a pastor, but I have a consulting company. I do a whole lot of other things because you never know what can happen according to Ecclesiastes 11:2. All right, so I talked about you got to see wealth abundantly, which is your perspective. Then you have to seize wealth aggressively, which is how you earn your income. Then number 3, you must spend wealth strategically. This is the one that keeps people from being wealthy because they might make money. They might do good in real estate. They might do good in business. They might do good in corporate America, but then they don't spend their money strategically. Again, Proverbs 21:20. It says, wise people live in wealth and luxury, but stupid people spend their money as fast as they get it. That's why a lot of people don't build wealth. Because they finally hit a nice real estate deal, or they finally make money, and what do? They say, oh, I'm going to go out and I'm going to buy my dream home. I'm going to buy my dream car. I'm not saying anything is wrong with that, but I'm saying you have to be disciplined enough to practice delayed gratification. Okay? One of the things I learned when I was in the investment business, especially from my Jewish colleagues, is you don't have to show off your wealth. Okay? One of the reasons a lot of people, and I'm going to say especially a lot of African Americans, don't have wealth, or as much as what we should have, is because we're pretending like we do have wealth. You can't get wealth pretending like you do. So here's some strategies to help you to spend wisely. This is very practical stuff you all already know, but the issue is not what you know, the issue is what you do. You need to live below your means. In other words, don't spend more than you earn. Proverbs 13:7 says it this way: some people pretend to be rich. I just talked about that. But really have nothing. Others pretend to be poor, but they're really wealthy. Okay? Don't be a pretender. So you need to live below your means, and then you need to develop a spending plan. That just means you need to tell your money where to go, because if you don't tell your money where to go, you're going to wonder where it went. Luke 14:28 from the Message Bible. I love what it says. It says, is there anyone here who, planning to build a new house, doesn't first sit down and figure the costs so you'll know if you can complete it? In other words, don't just jump into stuff haphazardly. Be strategic. Have a plan. So we must see wealth abundantly, seize wealth aggressively, spend wealth strategically, and lastly, we must save wealth. Save means invest also consistently. Save wealth consistently. Saving, preserving should be a part of our life. Here are 6 quick principles, you all, of saving and investing. Okay? The first one is establish a rainy day fund. What does that mean? That means that you always got to put money away for emergencies. You always, because what keeps a lot of people from investing and building wealth is life happens to them and they haven't put anything away for a rainy day. And by the way, my favorite book, the Bible, it says that it rains on the just and the unjust. That means no matter how much you pray, no matter how close you think you are to God, no matter how rich you are, no matter what color you are, stuff is going to happen every now and then, and it's going to catch you off guard. Be prepared for it. The next principle of saving and investing, I love this one. Start investing early and let time work for you. I started investing early, but I wish I had been more aggressive in my 20s and 30s. Start investing early. By the way, y'all, I know you're young and you're 30, you're 20, you're 35. I mean, next thing you know, you're going to be 50. It's going to come just like that. Trust me. Okay? Start early. The third thing is always diversify. Again, that's Ecclesiastes 11:2. Don't put all your eggs in one basket. Okay? Now, you may have a main thing. It could be real estate. It could be your main business. In fact, be careful when you diversify, because some people diversify too much and they get away from their core competency. Your diversification should really come from your core competency. I have about 5 or 6 income streams, but they all come from my core competency, either ministry or my financial experience and acumen. That's it. If it's not ministry, and if it doesn't have anything to do with money, or a little bit with real estate, which still has to do with money, I won't mess with it. Diversify. How about this one? Avoid get-rich-quick schemes. So my concern for some of you all, it always happens, it happens in every generation, is there are easy ways to make money. And we fall for it. And we find out that it's not real. It's not authentic. If it is easy, if it is too good to be true, a real estate deal, a stock, a business, run from it. And the last two, don't wait on the perfect time to invest. And you can read some of these scriptures on your own. Again, they're great practical scriptures. The economy is always going to go up and down. It's always going to be good. Sometimes it'll be bad. Sometimes it'll be in between. But if you keep waiting on the perfect time, you'll never make money. Yes, it's great to buy low and to sell high. That's the goal. But the most important thing is to do something, to take action. And then lastly, and I'll close with this, invest in your faith. Make sure, there's a verse in the Bible that says, I wish that you would prosper and be in health even as your soul prospers. So in other words, you can have money, you can even have your health, but if you're not happy on the inside, that means your soul is not prospering. So make sure that you invest in your faith. Make sure you invest in your family. Taking care of your family, having the right types of life insurance, and making sure that if something happened to you, you won't be leaving behind burdens but blessings. And then obviously you need to invest in your future. Through real estate, through stocks, bonds, mutual funds, through businesses, through other things, always thinking about your future. So I'm going to leave you with this. You have the potential to build wealth. You have the potential and the ability to do it. So my challenge to you is to develop it. So whenever that day comes and we have to stand before God, we can hear him say, "Well done, thy good and faithful servant." All right? So that's what I want to hear for you all. God bless you all, and let's keep building some wealth together.